Hi, my name is George Zogaib, and I'm going to be the professor today discussing strategy. We're going to take a look at what strategy is, what does it look like. We're going to see the importance of the framework that's involved in the creation of strategy. And then we're going to look at the implementation of strategy and who is involved with implementing strategy. This is not going to be a lecture. Instead, it's going to be a series of questions between you, the audience, and me. And together, we should have a better understanding of what strategy is, what it looks like, and how to implement it. First, let's discuss what is strategy. How do people use strategy? What is it defined by?
It is a blueprint for how to run a company.
That's right. So it could be, let's say, a plan. How we get from one point to another. We have our objectives, and now we just need to get there. But surely it doesn't have to be just this grandiose plan of many intricate parts. Can it also be a very specific one-time event that outwits your competition?
That sounds like a bit of deception. Trickery.
Kind of like a ploy. What if it isn't as direct as a plan or a ploy? What if it's something that just takes time? It takes place over time. What happens when you end up in a certain in a certain rhythm as an organization, where your actions are driven by that rhythm?
Maybe like a jeweler or watchmaker who has been creating the same type of extremely high-end pieces for many years.
That's right. So in your example, the high-end watchmaker finds themselves in the high-end strategy by only catering to that market. It's a pattern that they've exhibited over time.
What about the Great War strategists? Couldn't strategy take the form of our place on the battlefield, where we line our troops up in relation to our enemy?
Strategy being used as a position. How is strategy connected to the mission and the vision, the direction of the company?
I think it should be deeply ingrained, a part of the very character of the organization.
We would call that the perspective. So these are a few ways that strategies can be used. Now let's take a look at the kind of strategies there are for use for a business. So what are some strategies that a business owner can use?
One could strive to have the lowest costs.
Low cost? Sure. Does low cost always mean the lowest prices?
No, not necessarily.
Exactly right. What's important for a low-cost provider?
Well, you would likely need to sell a whole lot of whatever it is that you are bringing to market.
Yep, you'll probably need to have high volume. What else? Do you just need to sell a lot of them, or is there more to it than that?
Probably tighter margins.
They will generally have tighter margins. What else? If we're selling a lot of them, and we have to sell a lot of them because of the tight margins,
I would expect they are sold all over.
that's right. They need to be widely available. What do you mean when you say to have tight margins?
I mean not having prices be far above our production costs.
Okay, so not keeping your prices high, but there's another side to that equation, isn't there?
like the reduction of transactional inefficiencies.
Exactly. Those are referred to sometimes as friction costs. And so this is really what's important to us, is for us to reduce the friction costs, not so much to have tight margins. Tight margins is more of a symptom of trying to run as efficiently as possible. And it's also important to reduce these friction costs across the organization. What do you mean by widely available?
The customer should have no trouble at all finding the product. It should be at every street corner.
That's right. It needs to also be convenient. What's something else a business owner can use to get an edge on their competition?
A company may seek to be known for cutting-edge innovations. They could offer the latest and greatest available.
Sure, like a technology company.
Yes, a strategy of always being first to market.
Okay, first to market. What's important to someone who's practicing what you're calling first to market? What's important to them?
It is important that they continuously improve their offerings.
Okay. It's important for the company to continuously improve. That's exactly correct. What else? Is their quickness to market their strategy, or is that a tactic of their strategy?
A tactic, or maybe objective.
Okay, and if that's not their strategy, then what is their strategy? What is their focus? If it's not being first to market is what they're doing, but what is the center of this strategy?
Their high-quality products.
It's their product. They want to lead with their product. And yes, they do need to be able to market their products very quickly. But it is the product that is their strategy. The continuous improvement, the quick delivery, it is the product, their product leadership, that is driving the strategy of being first to market.
Must call for a great deal of creativity.
Yes, I would say you would have to be very creative. What's a consequence of continually improving your products?
It could catalyze demand for that product.
Is that really a threat to your business?
I suppose it doesn't have to be.
It is your job as a product leader to render your own products obsolete as quickly as possible. Once they have been developed, it's only a matter of time before someone copies it, and it's your job as a product leader in the industry to be the first one to improve upon your own products. Continuous improvement. You cannot have continuous improvement without the expectation of continually rendering your own technology obsolete. So we've talked a little bit about focusing your strategy and revolving your strategy around keeping your costs low, keeping the business well organized, a well-oiled machine. These are the Walmarts of the world. We have over here our product leadership. Apple, continuously improving, extremely creative, not afraid to render their own technology obsolete. With the focus on the product and the focus on keeping internal costs low, there's one stakeholder that's critical that has not been mentioned today. Which stakeholder is that?
The customer.
The customer, exactly.
Customer-focused strategy.
What is important to a business who has a customer focus in their strategy?
Their customers.
Customers.
Lots and lots of customers.
No, not just lots of customers, because up here in the low cost, they have high volume of customers. but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're focused on them. So a customer-focused strategy doesn't necessarily have a loss of customers. What kind of customers does the customer-focused strategy seek?
Quality over quantity. The best kind of customers are needed.
That's right, long-term customers. Relationships. Customer-focused strategy seeks to build long-term relationships with their customers, and it may mean that they have less customers than a low-cost or even a product leadership, but the customers that they do have brand loyalty. So whereas the low cost will be tailoring their product or their services to that which they can do at a high volume, and they can do very at an optimized economy of scale. And the product over here is going to be tailored so that it is at the leading edge of its market. The product here, the tailoring for the product or service here is going to be that for the customer. These products are more expensive to make because they are made with the customer in mind, exactly what the customer wants. And it may not be at the most convenient, while that is very important. What's most important for a customer-focused strategy is that the offerings are exactly what the customer wants. So we've discussed a little bit 3 different business level strategies that are available to us as strategic planners. Let's assume for a moment that we don't already have a business, but we would like to pick out which strategy is best for us. All we have is a business idea. And it's a good one. But it's not enough to pick out which strategy we need. What else do we need to pick out a strategy? What do we need to learn a little bit more about our business? We have an idea, we know what we want to do, we don't know how we're going to do it, we don't know what necessarily we're going to bring to market, but we have an idea. At the very foundation of our business, not just the business idea itself, but we also need to get an idea of, no matter what our business idea might be, what kind of values do we have? What are our business values, our credo? So we have the business idea, and we have the credo, we have our business values. What's next?
It may be time to start thinking about business goals.
It's our goals, that's true, but it's also our current
mission as a business.
Mission, that's right. We need to have a mission. This is what we do better than our competition today. What do we call where we see ourselves in the future? Our mission for the future.
Sounds like an organization using forward thinking. Their vision?
Our vision. Our vision for tomorrow. So now we have our business idea. We have the core values that are at the heart of our company. We have an understanding of what we're good at today and how we're going to use that to make a value for our market, how to create competitive advantage. And we also have an idea of where we're going in the future. What is our vision for tomorrow? What are our core competencies going to be going forward? Understanding that our core competencies for today are going to become stale. With these in mind, now it's time to choose what strategy is best for us. For the sake of this discussion, let's assume that we have chosen a low-cost approach. Now we have an idea of our mission and our vision. What are some factors that we need to consider? What do we need to take a look at to get that better understanding our core competencies and to confirm that they are indeed our sources of competitive advantage.
We could learn a lot from our competition.
That's right, the competition. We need to take a look at ourselves and our competition in order to know, relative to them, how we stack up as an organization, even if that organization hasn't really been kicked off yet.
We would still need to do some analysis on our customers. Is that correct?
As a low-cost leader, it's still important for us to consider the customer and how we design our product.
The workforce?
The workforce, too. So there are likely some other parties that are involved aside from competition, customers, and the workforce, government regulations and the like, our environment. We need to look at all of those things. What kind of an analysis would you say can we get all of these involved parties all on one page? What would we call these different parties?
Aren't they all interested parties?
Interested parties, yes. What else? Stakeholders. By doing a stakeholder analysis, we'll get as many parties as we can on one sheet of paper and look at what's important to them and how do we fit in as an organization with their needs.
Wouldn't it be important to differentiate between the different stakeholders?
Some are inside the company, some are outside the company. We have external and internal stakeholders. So at this point we have a lot of information about a lot of stakeholders, but it's not necessarily as useful as we'd like. We need this information though, but we need it better organized in order to create really useful long-term and short-term objectives. So with that in mind, our objectives in mind, that's where we're headed. What are some ways that external stakeholders can impact our business?
The competition can certainly stand in the way of reaching our goals.
Very good. They can threaten our business. Very clearly can threaten our business. What else? Who are some other external stakeholders that we had talked about? The big one. Customers. How can customers impact our business?
They provide opportunities.
Opportunity. Yes. Customers provide us with the opportunity that we need, and we need to keep those opportunities in mind as we're planning ahead, creating those objectives. How about internally? They'll either stand as a strength or a weakness. Internal and external stakeholders. Internal stakeholders, which provide strengths and weaknesses to our organization, and external stakeholders, which can threaten and also provide opportunity for our business. The SWOT analysis is something that every business student should know, but without the correct internal and external stakeholder analysis, it really doesn't have the traction needed to create meaningful long-term and short-term objectives. So let's recap a little bit. We have our business idea. We have our values, our mission, our vision. We've done the pre-work, we've done our analysis, we've picked out our strategy, which has driven that internal and external stakeholder analysis. We've used that stakeholder analysis to build a complete SWOT, which gives us a great idea, a great picture, a snapshot of what our business looks like right now and the environment in which we plan to operate. Next come the objectives: long-term, short-term, and functional objectives. First, we all know what an objective is. What makes a strategic objective strategic?
Thinking of strategy as a plan, they are the milestones along the way.
That's true. It is a milestone along the way, but it has a bigger purpose than that.
It's how we act on it.
I think you're close there. Remember, the mission statement is what tells us what we are going to do today, what we intend to do today to create value for the market. For example, Walmart's mission statement is saving people money so they can live better. Such a simple phrase. Saving people money so they can live better. Easy to communicate and easy to understand at every level of the organization. Such simplicity doesn't speak at all, though, to the 160 distribution centers, 5.5 billion cases of merchandise put on the shelves by over 1 million Walmart associates in front of over 200 million customers every week. Just like the strategy that we've chosen, they have chosen to approach the market in a low-cost fashion, and in order to do that, the logistics are incredible. So how do the millions of members in Walmart's organization translate such a simple mission statement into such a complex business structure? The strategic objectives are meant to operationalize the mission statement and provide those benchmarks along the way. For these strategic objectives to be meaningful, for them to do their job, what do you think are some really important characteristics?
They should be clearly stated with little to no ambiguity.
Okay, yep. They need to be specific. What else?
To be a proper benchmark, we need to be able to measure them.
Measurable. What else? They do have to be attainable. So what type of goals are attainable? Realistic ones. Do you think all objectives have a similar time horizon?
By the looks of the board, I'd say not.
No. So they do need to be timely. We have long, short, and functional objectives. What would you say the time horizon is on the long-term objectives?
About 7 years.
Okay, 7 years? Just 7 years, or do you think there's a range? Let's do 6 to 10 years. The amount of years is not as important as long relative to short relative to functional. For short-term objectives, short-term strategic objectives, what time horizon would you say that those would fall under?
Maybe 3 to 4 years.
3 or 4 years? Let's do 2 to 5 years. Short-term objectives should be in pursuit of longer-term objectives, and both should be in line with the mission statement. Functional level objectives are normally about 1 year in length. From a marketing functional objective, which may look more similar to a customer-focused approach, or an R&D, which is going to look a lot like the product leadership. In our case, our operations department is going to look very similar to our overall strategy in that both are going to be focused on it, building efficiencies and lowering costs. This is what allows for a very simple mission statement with very complex organizational structure. Dissemination of the strategy through the vision and mission statement into the long and short-term strategic objectives in order to create tactics, procedures, and policies that are aligned with the overall business level strategy. Together, these are the pieces of the puzzle that make up the framework, which is a strategic architecture. Using this strategic architecture, members of the organization at every level of the organization can make decisions which are aligned with the business level strategy, even if the mission statement is only 7 words. So as you've seen, we've taken a business idea, a whole lot of research and analysis, and we've turned them into some assumptions in which we based our strategy on. In our case, it was the low-cost leader. And this strategy, once implemented through the objectives that we just spoke of, the functional, short, and long-term objectives, what will we end up with? What does the implementation of that strategy lead to, inevitably?
Great success.
No, not success, and hopefully not failure. But those are two different kinds of what? Those are two options, two results, right? Our strategy, once implemented, is absolutely going to produce some sort of results. When we learn from these results and use what we learned to either improve or continue on with our current strategy, this type of learning is called a single feedback loop, and it's critical for a successful strategic implementation. Taking it a step further, when we take the results and we also incorporate them into the original assumptions, thereby allowing for the possibility that the overall strategy could change based on those assumptions, the business idea and so forth. This setup is called a double feedback loop, and it's much more effective at ensuring that both your assumptions and your strategy are current with the results that you're receiving. I'd like to thank you for watching this video. I sincerely hope you found it informative and maybe a little entertaining.